I'm Lydia Bailey. I am a fourth year PhD student in the Department of Geosciences at the University of Arizona. And so I am a geochemist and a geochronologist. And so my role in the SMRFS team is to place our observations and the kinds of analyses we're doing on these rocks in the context of time, in the context of geological time. With the SMRFS team, we're interested in how interactions between fluids, rocks, and microbes evolved over time. And so when I was asked to be involved in this project, I was obviously thinking on, okay, the time aspect of it. What can I do to place these things in the context of time? What kinds of rocks do I need to collect in order to do that? Because we can't just pick up any rock and date it. It's very specific minerals we have to use. And so it's about trying to find a balance between where we might see evidence of past microbial life combined with having the suitable materials that we need to get an age on those rocks. So my role is to go collect these rock samples that we're interested in, separate various minerals from these rock types and date them using different types of geochronology. So when I say date them, I mean getting an age of when that mineral formed or when that rock was formed. And that's really important to get when these rocks were forming, because we want to know when microbial activity was happening in these rocks. It might be paleo fluid flow, paleo microbial activity. So we want to know how many millions of years ago were these microbes active and alive in the rocks. So one of the field sites that we visited is a place called Rainbow Rocks, where we had different colored sandstones, and the different colors, like we can see here, there's this yellow, red, and black sandstone here, reflect different interaction with different fluids. And so this is a place we're interested in because this black rock here contains a lot of organic material, which is what makes it black. So we want to collect this rock and look at it in more detail to know how these organic rich fluids were interacting and altering the rock, because the rock was actually originally this red color, but as you can see, we have the same sandstone is now yellow or it's black, and this is because it's reacted with different fluids. And so we go to places where we can see this manifestation of paleo fluid flow, such as Rainbow Rocks. So here we are in the microscope lab of the Arizona Noble Gas Laboratory. And so here we do a lot of the sample preparation and lots of the fine detailed work where we've got to separate samples out and get them prepared for analysis on various different machines in different labs. Okay, so there's various steps that I need to do once I get back from the field to further analyze the rocks. And so, for example, with these sandstones, I want to know exactly what kinds of minerals have been precipitated from these paleo fluids that we've been talking about. So I actually need to cut these sandstones on a rock saw. I create little billets just like this one, and then I get thin sections created, which are these very, very thin slices of rock. So you can see that this thin section is a very thin slice through this rock, and that allows us to look at these rocks at a very small scale on the microscope. And so I've also done that with this kind of rock as well. You can see that this is a nice slice through the rock, and I've then made a thin section of this rock. So I can just look at exactly what minerals, what different types of minerals and textures are in there. In addition to that, I will also take bits of this rock and crush it with a hammer and a mortar and pestle, really grind it up and produce a powder like this. And then I take this and look at it under the microscope. Now that I have my prepared rock here, And all of the black crystals in there are manganese oxides. I can then take them over to the microscope in the other room and use tweezers. And while I'm looking in the microscope and with my tweezers, I pick out individual grains from this. And then I have to pack them into very tiny niobium tubes. They're about 1 millimeter in size. And I pack them, and it's like a little envelope. And so I seal the tube using my tweezers as well. And then now that tube has a crystal of manganese oxide inside it, and it's ready to be analyzed for uranium, thorium, helium geochronology. So uranium, thorium, helium geochronology is based on the radioactive decay of uranium and thorium. And so uranium and thorium decay by what we call chain decay, and they decay to lead. So many people have heard of uranium-lead geochronology. But at each step of that decay chain, a helium particle is released. And so what happens when you have a mineral that contains even very, very tiny amounts of uranium, these are concentrations we don't need to be concerned about in terms of radioactivity or anything like that. The concentrations are so small, but that's enough that over time, uranium in these crystals will decay to helium, and the helium is trapped in the crystal, especially at low temperatures. And so then we can measure the concentration of helium in the crystal and the concentration of uranium and thorium in the crystal, and use those to calculate the age when it formed. The exciting thing about geochronology is sometimes you have no idea what age you're going to get, and that's what makes this job so exciting. Is it's kind of like a treasure hunt, and you don't know what you're going to find at the end. So I love both fieldwork and lab work. Fieldwork is what brought me into geosciences in the first place. I can't say I have a favorite, because both are fun in their own ways. So for example, I love fieldwork because I get to be outdoors and usually in places with amazing landscapes. But then in the lab, I get to cut rocks up using a rock saw, which is just, I love it. So I like both. Everything is fun about my work. It's the combination of being in the outdoors combined with chemistry, biology, and even physics. I just think it's really amazing that geoscience really combines all of those things. And what's kept me in geoscience is all of the interesting stuff I get to do with the rocks afterwards, and knowing that one tiny little crystal can hold such a wealth of information about our planet, and I just think that's so cool.